related, but we didn't write them together. But this is in honor of our little guy.
Yeah, totally. This poem actually started out not without that end kind of in mind of it. It just kind of happened during the poem. Here it is. I am the potter's wheel. The clay is my heart, spinning 1,000,000 miles an hour when creativity meets centrifugal force, the same thing that spins the world. The potter's wheel is where it all began, where God's hands reached into mud and created the first living being. As the center of the pottery studio, everything revolves around me. As I spin like the earth circles the sun, the water is my breath, splashed onto the clay so it can become something new, because nothing can take the shape of life without water. When I'm done spinning, the clay is dipped in glaze like it was a prayer of the spirits of creativity. The newly spun life is placed into the kiln, who is my wife. She kisses with fire, and the new life, our child, shines into existence.
I woke up feeling 2 heartbeats within me. I couldn't tell where yours began and mine ended. The energetic breath of creation wrapped around every cell like cosmic saran wrap. God's tinfoil for keeping you fresh. You move like tiny waves of light and exploration inside of me. Sometimes I can see my skin ripple with your movements as you weather the awe-inspiring tides of becoming a person. I recently read that you began to dream in there. What mystical notions are you and all the other incubating others guarding from the rest of us fumbling mortals? What did I do to deserve the blessing of being a house of creation? What was it that attracted you to us? We all sing a dynamite yes into the heavens as time tickles every crevice of my psyche with the knowing that you are here and not quite here all at once. Every single tear, scream, laugh, smile, and choice led me to you. I'm still unclear at what point in my road did you look down and say, her, I'll come to her. Maybe it's better I don't know. It allows me to stay present with the miracle of one fully formed body encasing 2 souls, dancing in the twilight with Estrade and the angels that cradle you to sleep after I take slumber's invite too. Bravo.
Thank you. Here, pens. Can
you get me a blue one,
You
Bits?
get 3.
3?
For the poet in the making.
Yes, that's right.
Awesome.
That one and one more.
Thank you. One more. Let's go with that. And, oops, snap.
All right.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. That's a great way to start the afternoon. All right. Next up, we have Joanna. Eli.
Okay, I'm going to correct that a little bit. It's Johanna Ely. Nice. Thank you. Really happy to be here. When Nina said she was going to be reading here this afternoon, I said, oh my gosh, can I come along? I live in Benicia, so happy to be here. And the plum wine is so delicious, and amazingly, I mean, it just ties in because the poem I chose to read today is titled Plums. Plums. I like them best, just picked, still warm from the sun. Every year at the end of June, the plums ripen all at once and become the fruit of excess. Neighbors deliver them to me in stained brown lunch bags, not questioning need or want, but politely demanding their fruit be taken. This season, the plums arrived just before a summer party. I rinsed them carefully in cool water, patting each one dry, then felt their perfect roundness in my hand as I placed them gently in the blue ceramic bowl, a still life for Suzanne. They look too beautiful to be eaten, these purple jewels of summer. By evening, I too was giving them away, asking guests to take some home, 5 or 6 to a paper bag, until 1 plum was left. There are certain things I can never get enough of. A billion stars in the sky, 100 red roses blooming at once, my lover's kisses warm and wet. But this 1 plum was all I needed. Sweet juice on lips and tongue, a harvest of desire, the taste of all the days of summer in my throat.
They're very expensive. They're very expensive. They're not selling their numbers, so expensive. Yeah. Side note.
You tell me
Yeah.
This next poem is What Still Matters. The water stain on the dining room table still remains, a perfect circle left from the vase of irises I received on my 40th birthday. By the way, that was 30 years ago. That and the table, lined and scratched like an old man's face, remind me there is a beauty to aging. All these millions of years, water tumbling over riverbeds, the ragged rocks thin and clean, smoothed into glass stones, scarab green, or wind howling in the crevices of ocean cliffs, how it erodes and softens them, dunes of bone-white sand rising, all that once came kicking and screaming into this nascent world, weakened to a whisper, the veneer chipped, worn to a thin gold band, takes on its own polished patina, while a voice low, far away, murmurs what still matters, how the purple-tongued irises turned a deeper indigo in the waning light. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Right. I believe Jack Melander is up next.
Yeah, just in time.
Right.
Back in the 40s, my mom used to call me Master Jack, and 40 years later, I got a master's from UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
So this is a continuation of this poem I've been reading for the last 4 months, and it's called Gotta Keep on Feeling Blues. In far the most humiliating scene I've ever endured, a real living man, young Laura, roomy, tooty, cutie, mean, her then men in cypress, squeeze, my mad friend and I are way we wended toward the tall infested town. We escalating up on subway toward Three Stooges Festival. Town of cats with one too many cup accosted me and wouldn't let me pass. I sidestepped, ran 5 paces, turned around, and like a fool, I called him ass. But learned with what attacking rage he burned. As soon as I began a chain of blows with him, my motorcycle pal emerged and jumped him. From the crowd there then arose a further swarthy brawler. When I urged my friends to let me have my fights, the new Hidalgo was at him. As their fist ranged, his guano called, and though I never knew, resumed his work to keep me entertained. A student, swimmer, skater, clerk me fight, I stood and fought him even, as he me. 'Twas several minutes gone into the night, I knew I was not the winner be. I made a bleak, half-hearted lurch to flee. He turned our battle into a running one. He tied it. Again the odds weighed evenly, somewhere distant. Jerry shared such fun, somewhere near surprise, Laura really wept. A quizzical surprise lit my foe's grin. It seemed as though it actually kept my end up. Then the blamed police stepped in, attacking as pigs will, in outside odds, while charging us as pigs will from behind. One seized my belt and back, I cursed his gods, his chains, his bars, his heart so young, blind. Then they sorted us by seeming sides, then bade us sit on low concrete retaining wall. They checked IDs, bestowed no accolade to ask me whence I hailed, me winner call. But Balmy Jerry said, "Stop crying, Laura." I hear him said, "Stop crying, Laura," too. But ne'er was saying when she donned her aura, more pressing charges, something we could do. Except for one, the pigs let us all go. Except that hombre I've been flailing at. He wore no guns, no cages kept, and oh, he fought me clean, alone up front, no rat. But since he had a prior, he got all away, and all because of me. But she that vipers him said I should not be called a wimp though anymore in front of me. And clean time gently on my brow, and Jer, his lover Laura, I resumed our way. She led a goddess from the prow of some old ship. I trailed soul and tune. Got the guy to keep on feeling, even when it leaves me bleeding, because I can't just not feel any more blue. The only right and privilege my parchment prefers that isn't canceled out by my follies and crimes is this eternal youth, credential ensures. But you get that without school, using just the rhymes. Avoid the shame and disrespect, years study, getting horny where hard dreams come true, dear California. Got the guy to keep on feeling even though it leaves me bleeding, because I can't just not feel anymore blues. Political code. Most citizens acknowledge reparations are owed to Native Americans by our old Uncle Sam, and that poor homeowners under tax burden bow were due for relief, but our sold-out leaders stand could grant the first wish only while they gambling legalized. The second, just with industries bid tax break tries.
Next up, we
Don't
have...
get the pen.
Yes,
Jack,
Jack,
your
your
pen.
Jack.
I have that pen.
Jack.
All right, next up, we have a little treat. We have a preview of one of next month's features. Next month we will have E.K. Keith, so we'll also have this gentleman, Andre Wilson, who will now share some of his poetry, and we'll be back next month. So please come back next month.
Thank you, Greg. A couple of years ago, during the pandemic, my husband became permanently disabled after a botched knee surgery. Left us in a wheelchair, unable to walk independently, and suffering multiple infections. And I have to spend many hours at the pharmacy picking up his prescription. In fact, I don't have time to write because I'm spending all my time at the pharmacy. And I started thinking, geez, Andre, you spend so much time at the pharmacy, you should write a poem about the pharmacy. So this is my Petrarchan sonnet called The Farmer. We stand in line beneath the farmer's light, while others slouched in chairs and out of breath. The druggist locked our meds because of meth addicts and closed the drive-thru due to fights. The exponential growth of queues and sites, the late to freeze, limit, and flee to death, forget their pains within the river left. As life endures a cavalcade of slights. And burst your bills. We close at 6 o'clock. Ain't no to cry. There's not enough to fill. Reduce your meds until we're out of stock. You're out of pocket. Side effects can kill. The interaction's real. Consult your doc, consult your shop, and cut in half your pill. A couple of years ago, I took a queer poetics class taught by a slam poet champion, Sam Sachs, and he gave his students the poetry prompt to take a common poetry term such as sonnet, verse, rhyme, and give it a new queer definition. And so I took a word, gave it a new queer definition, submitted it to 10 different journals, had 10 different rejections, and it got picked up by Great Weather for Media, which is publishing it this summer. And here's my poem with a new queer definition. Quatrains. Quatrain. Quat. Rain. Qua. Train. Now. Plural noun. Quatrains. A portmanteau of queer and train. Origin, the segregated rail cars for queers during the Jim Dandy Peacock era, aka before Stonewall, 1969. The four lines at the Bay Area Rapid Transit District marked ferrying queers from the East Bay suburbs to San Francisco on Pride Sunday. The Richmond line, the Antioch line, the Dublin Pleasanton line, the Warm Springs Fremont line. Common saying, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it probably rides a pop train on Pride Sunday. And drag in jeans and leather and feathers and flannel and Spanish and suits and nothing at all. We come, come, and come, and come. Over the flatlands, through the hills, under the bay we come. Riding the rails, filling the cars, crowding the aisles we come. Buried our gifts, buried our breasts, buried our asses we come. Laughing and crying and shouting we come. Hugging and kissing, fucking and fighting, prancing and protesting we come. To the city, to Mecca, to Oz we come. And during our pilgrimage, we feel the power of our numbers. We feel the magnet of our destination. We feel the community of our diversity. And when the crop trains deposit us in the city beneath the parade route, we emerge from underground, step into the light, and know we have arrived. Thank you. I'll be back next month.
Come out of it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I think we will go with one of our features, I think. Since I don't give it any preference, I will start with the one I meant to print this out. I don't like reading from my phone anyway. Nina Serrano. Nina Serrano is an active 88-year-old prize-winning poet and media producer in Vallejo, California. She has published 3 volumes of poetry, Heart Songs, Heart's Journey, and Heart Strong, and is currently working on another, Out of the Blue, to be available later this year. She also published a novel, Nicaragua Way. Her plays have been produced in the United States and Canada. Currently, she produces regular monthly radio programs on literature and Latinx affairs on KPFA 94.1 FM and OZCAT Radio 89.5 FM. She has directed the San Francisco Poetry in the Schools program and the Stage Bridge Storytelling in the Schools program. She also was a member of the Open Arts Commission for 8 years. And you can learn more about her on her website, ninaserrano.com. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome Nina Serrano.
With a little help from my friends.
All right.
Thank you all for coming. And thank you to Greg for the invitation. I'm going to be reading in sequence of time. And so this first poem was the first poem I ever wrote and the first poem that was ever published. And that was in 1969. And it's called To Roque Dalton Before Going to Fight in El Salvador. It was written in Havana, 1969. Mass media, I adore you. With a whisper in the microphone, I touch the mass belly against mine, like on a rush hour bus, but with no sweat and no embarrassment. Don't die. The whisper beneath the call to battle. My love of man in conflict with my love for this man. Women die too. They let go their tight grip on breath and sigh to die. They say Tanya died before Che. I saw her die in a Hollywood movie. Her blood floated in the river. I stand in the street in Havana. There are puddles here, but few consumer goods to float in them. Here the blood is stirred by the sacrifice of smiles to armed struggle, a phrase and an act. They leave one day and they are dead. Death to the known order, birth to the unknown, blood, blood, blood. The warmth of it between the thighs soothes the channel. The baby fights and tears. I stand by a puddle in Havana, a woman full of blood, not yet spilled. Can I spill blood by my own volition? Now it flows from me by the call of the moon. A woman mopping her balcony spills water from her bucket on my hair, my breasts, and into the puddle. The question is answered. This next poem is called In Memoriam, Agustin Polo Arroyo, 1896 to 1970. The death of you has still not come, although your old body doesn't fill the shabby spaces they allotted it. I feel you with me as I live my history, rubbing against love, sunlight to moonlight, flowers pushing up through your grave. Memory is eternity. Memory is an ancient dance. This next poem is called Delano March to Sacramento, Hasta Sacramento, 1966. It's about the UFW, the United Farm Workers Union. The image of La Virgen de Guadalupe leads the way, above the heads of union leaders, priests, and California farm workers. It's a long walk from Delano, California to Sacramento, capital. From her lofty perch, the Virgin sees the world press snap her photo. On London's docks, the English longshoremen feel her gaze. They're not familiar with her, but there's something engaging about the photo of this dusty group walking along the side of the highway, carrying aloft the banner as a holy image. Her power hints to the viewers that she is a woman who stands on roses and can endure the thorns. She radiates a synchronous blending of a more modern with a more ancient goddess who served the ancestors of the marchers. They called her Donatzin, the goddess of the fertile earth and its fruits. In Europe, the ancient goddess had other names, but she can still be felt globally in every depiction. She resonates in the deepest part of the human brain. In Europe, stories of California farm workers told that they respected the earth that brought forth the grapes. They wanted to harvest them at a living wage. The London dock workers understood, refusing to unload ships with scab-picked grapes from California valleys, then trucked to ships floating all the way to England's shore and on other continental ports where no union worker would touch them. Of course they loved the sweet, juicy taste of grapes, but organized labor refused to unload them until the United Farm Workers Union was recognized and union wages paid. That day, Donatzin smiled. And this poem is called Shakespeare and Me, very modestly. Shakespeare and me go way back. I always knew about to be or not to be, or that the quality of mercy is not strained. I totally agreed that all the world's a stage and loved to be on it as a young theater student. He was my mentor, master playwright, who could step in and take a role, rewrite on the spot if he had to, because the show must go on. The Actor's Training Bible, back in my day, by Konstantin Stanislavski, includes a fictional Moscow acting student's inner reflection as he puts black makeup on his white face to play the Moor, Othello. The mighty African-American actor Paul Robeson played Othello on the 1943 Broadway stage, groundbreaking at the time to white actresses Uta Hagen's Desdemona. This production broke the racial Jim Crow segregation of American theater, but the fine California actor I saw last weekend didn't need any black makeup. This 21st century production emphasized the current anti-Muslim prejudices and the oppression of women. The Moor, treated as other, and the two wives, Iagos and Othellos, played as outsiders of the circle of power. They are all doomed, like the villainous culprit Iago, driven by the outrage of his low status as a slave, who Othello orders about in a deeply divided class society. Themes and issues echo beyond the theater into the audience and catapulting the centuries. Trump supporters spewing hatred while Trump brags of mortifying women. Muslims labeled terrorists. Bloody war raging endlessly. Shakespeare and me go way back. He follows me relevantly into old age. I cheer him on. Bravo, Will, encore! This is called Be Fearless, Choose Love. And I wrote it for the wedding of my grandson. Fear of computer viruses, fear of terrorists, fear of the planetary extinction, fear of our current paths of spreading diseases, of urban crime rates, drug lords owning governments, torture as a commonplace weapon, and humanless drones with only a button to press to explode life to smatters and splinters. Only a law to pass to steal it all. Fearless love is the only defense. Greedy power in my face like in yours wants to make us forget, but we cannot forget this nagging feeling hardwired in the bones, wanting to belong snugly in the nest of our planet. Be accepted fully because we exist, not for our documents, licenses, and wealth. From that innate primordial desire comes our fearless love, peeking around the polluted rubble of destruction, the abandoned gas stations, the poisoned waterways. We look beyond and see other heads bobbing up and down, beaming the signal, calling us to show our fearless love in the face of everything. Fearless love, the daily challenge. Ready or not, here it is. And thank you. This is called Green Man, and it's a love poem I dedicated to my husband, Paul Richards. I would paint you the color of sky, the way you are to me, enfolding, containing. You are my ambience, bringing sunshine, cloud, and rain. The sprouting clover comes from you, and the many paths and ways from sorrow to happiness and strength for tomorrow. You emanate the light announcing morning, shining the possibilities of another day, and the unexpected sightings of birds and otters, and the surprise of a turtle stopped on the road, hidden in its shell, in plain view. And this is called Green, Oh How I Love You Green, written on March 20th, 21, and it's dedicated to the Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca. Green, oh how I love you green. Green hills, green fields, blue-green, yellow-green, light green and dark, every tint, shade and hue. Northern California greens after the rains. Green sprouts along the sides of roads, buds and leaves glisten. Tender, fresh, new green, I want to eat you. Bite off a vast field newly sprouting, blossoming without blemish. I could swallow you whole, leaving only tree trunks in my hunger, aroused by this new birth of green, of winter flowering into spring, this rush of aroused appetite, this rush of bursting euphoria awakening, my joy, my joy, my joy. This poem is called, appropriately for our pregnant poet, The Maternity Ward, 1955. There were many of us, each in her own single bed, women recovering from childbirth. Our conversation filled the room. One mass conversation, spontaneous and clear, in this barren, white-walled ward. I was the youngest, age 20, my first baby. The others had 2 or 3 or 4, but one had 12. In her poverty, she had no diapers waiting, but she didn't weep or complain. I was glad for my waiting packages of cloth diapers, gathered along with other supplies Dr. Spock had recommended. During my pregnancy, I read his book over and over. No one in the ward had read it. Reading was not a popular activity. The woman with 12 did not seem worried or upset. She hoped her church would help with her needs. I learned a lot in the conversation, practical tips that proved so handy in the coming decades of children, grandchildren, and great-grands. This is called Love Thy Neighbor. It was written in 2017. Love thy neighbor, the ones with tattoos on their necks and faces, or shaved heads, or covered by yarmulkes, turbans, hijabs, or backwoods baseball caps for a team you don't like. Love thy neighbor, the wavy-haired, springy-curled, puffy-headed, shaven, bald, and straight-haired, hanging long down, or standing straight, shooting up. The ones who moved in one gender and then changed. Help thy neighbor, whose garbage cans stand out too long with long neglected weeds, lowered window shades decaying, and the entry stairs sloping down. The single ones with noisy kids that laugh, wail, and whine. The ones with walkers, wheelchairs, and canes. Give a smile, lend a hand to pull us all up, all the ragged rainbow way up. This is called Free Dump Day. What an adventure! We pulled out of the driveway with the car stuffed with all the boxes and bags that were piled up in the garage. Boxes still unpacked from our move-in 6 years ago, and the huge black plastic bags full of unwanted giveaways and old clothes, and a discreet bag of electronic waste that just didn't work anymore. The little car was packed in tight, with just enough room for us to sit in front. It was easy to spot the others en route. Pickup trucks filled to the brim with old toys, bicycles, car parts, and whatnot. Teams of people waving us in, indicating where we should go. You don't have to get out of your car. There were more teams of people showing you where to unload your loads. What a mobilization of people, equipment, dumpsters, and trucks. All about too much stuff. That doesn't even count that most of our neighbors have to park on the street because their garages are full of stuff. Stuff is stuffing our lives. All along the highway sides, more storage units are being built to put all the stuff in. We are choking on stuff while others do without even a home. Free Dump Day helps us free us of our societal shame. The story of two Ninas, Nina Menendez and Nina Serrano. Two Ninas, a generation apart. The younger observed that they had both begun as 10-year-olds to ride buses and subways alone to get around New York City. The older, emboldened by the Me Too movement, mentioned to the younger how between the ages of 10 and 12, she had seen so many penises. The younger said, "Me too." How taking advantage of crowded conditions, men would rub against her. The elder chimed in how sometimes they might expose themselves. Penis after penis. Neither of them ever discussed it, but simply found youthful, clever ways to escape from their pursuers, assuming it was part of the freedom, the price of the freedom to travel. It took thousands of Me Too's decades later to even mention it, because sexual harassment had become so commonplace, so unspeakably unnotable, that even now, two accused molesters pass judgment to determine what civil society allows. The two Ninas broke their silence. Usually the older interviewed the younger about the multicultural roots of flamenco, but now the younger asked the older, "I read in your biography that as a child you traveled the city alone." Their misadventures spilled out, trapped for decades, as the shared Me Too stories movement began an unstoppable avalanche to smash the patriarchy. And this is almost my closing poem, and it's called, "And If I Die Before I Wake." I tried to think about my death, but my mind keeps wandering. After all, I'm not getting any younger, 88. I'm already so old, the age when most people are already gone. Either I will die in my bed and fade away with something, illness or accident, or collapse on my feet because my heart stopped beating. If the latter, two men in a tiny room at Kaiser Hospital will see a blip on their screen telling them that my pacemaker stopped. So they won't be sad. They won't remember me from my yearly device checkup. It'll be just part of an 8-hour shift. But for me, it will either be the beginning of a new chapter of being or nothing. Can I imagine nothing? Really nothing? Not a regret or a memory? No wonder my mind keeps wandering. This is my closing poem, and it's called "We Are in Vogue." A 106-year-old Filipina is on the cover of Vogue. This means that we are now declared officially beautiful. In the next few months and years, our shift in societal perception will become noticeable. Less facelifts, less hair dye. Soft folds will merge on our faces rather than wrinkles. Breasts will have lowered rather than sagged. Our words will be perceived of as wise rather than old-fashioned. Our slipping memory will become poetic wisdom, when we can no longer be relied on for the details of the facts. Granny styles will emerge again. Our old, out-of-date dresses will become the latest retro. Retro will hold a great value as we evolve into a beauty symbol. Our involuntary naps will be declared beauty rest. So we may even have to give up rest to find the energy for our new status as beauty queens, crowned as wise, mature, and eternally beautiful.
Bravo, bravo. Can we have another hand? Whichever one you want. I knew you'd go for the green. And you also get a pen. Well,
That, I'll take that green one, except it was your thing, so thank you.
thank you. All right. Somebody forgot their pen was here before. All right, next up, we have the lovely Sally Love Saunders.
I'm coming.
Take your time, take your time.
Thank you very much. It's from one octogenarian to another. It's nice to be where you were, following your footsteps. I have 3 poems I wanted to share that I've written since I was last with you. I'm going to read each one twice. The first goes, "What does the wind say?" I wrote this one the 18th of June. Want to just sit on a bench and talk with the wind. Just letting the wind come up to me and chatter. What does the wind say? Wind tells about where it has been and also says, hope it's not too cold for my comfort. Polite wind, and I am sitting in a polite garden. I wrote this over at the Botanical Garden, Golden Gate Park. I'd like to read it again, please. I always carry a pen and pencil with me wherever I go. And luckily I had a pad pencil with me when this poem wanted to be born. What does the wind say? Just want to sit on a bench and talk with the wind. Just letting the wind come up to me and chatter. What does the wind say? The wind tells about where it's been, and it also says, I hope it's not too cold for my comfort. Polite wind, and I am sitting in a polite garden. The birds are singing to me. Written June 6th. The birds are singing to me to join them in song, or at least try and join them in song. But I remain with no music coming out of me, but the birds still sing away, even without me. Seems to me the birds are more peppy this year than usual. I wonder what's going on in the bird world. Birds are singing to me. The birds are singing to me to join them in song, or at least try and join them in song. But I remain with no music coming out of me. The birds still sing away, even without me. Want to replace a poem. Want to replace a poem. Want to replace a poem for every gunshot. Want to replace a smile for every scared thought. With all my might, I want to blow out terrorism, racism, and sexism, and ageism. Thank you. I wanted to also invite you to look at my website. It goes sallylovesaunders.org. Or you could just Google me, because I loved it for you to get to know me, and I want to get to know all of you. So that's my key to my door. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Pat. Let's see. Oh, this, those were mine. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll have Barbara Saunders.
Barbara
followed
Saunders?
by Forbes and Sarah Menifee.
Huh. We have the same last name. All right.
I've got Father's Day poems today. Invocation. My father taught me how to slide a vinyl record from its sleeve without touching the grooves. Drop it on the turntable's peg, place the diamond stylus at the edge, scratch the voices of the dead out of a spinning black disc right into the room. This one's called The View from the Tallest Building in the World. I took my grandfather's hand, clicked my jaw to pop my ears. We rose and rose to the top of the empire. On the observation deck, Grandpa pitched his fedora back on his head, put his hands at my waist, hoisted me to the highest ring on the pedestal of the tower viewer. Coin slot fed, eyepieces in focus. The grid of streets below crawled with crowds of people scrambling for footing like captive ants in a farm. He had made this climb every year, he said, since he and the building were new to this place. Its construction, its prosperity, testaments to the rewards of hard work and the possibility of progress. So when I attempt to state my ambitions in the time it took to ride down from the 86th floor, I realize I never got back to the ground. And so I suck at elevator speeches. And so I am a poet. This is a pretty new one called Where the Mind Goes. My father rode Amtrak to attend my graduation. 3,000 miles from New Rochelle to Emeryville. His first trip to California since shipping out to Korea. The first time in decades he carved out that much time to be alone. On the return trip, a man attempting suicide jumped from the train as it went over the Rockies. A ledge caught him. The rescue took hours while the train waited. So I took some time to jot things down, my father said whenever he told the story. And even though I know everybody takes things down on occasion, I was shocked to think about my father doing it, like Freud's primal scene. I never asked him what he wrote, and I've wondered ever since. Barbara Saunders.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, next up, we have Forbes next, and followed by Sarah Menifee and Dan O.
I'm going to be doing it with the pen. Okay, this first one's called Message to the Young. I do not think it nice teasing old people about their sexuality. Why is senior sex so often thought as funny or disgusting? Most old people have their tits and vaginas. The old men have their dicks and scrotums too. And even though they tend to wrinkle and drift south, hanging onto their knees, flapping in the breeze, when scooped up and functioning, may surprise you. So next time you see old people going at it in the park or shopping on the shopping mall, don't giggle or heave, but step out and lend a friendly hand or two, because someday, maybe old sex will happen to you. This one's Dirty Doormat. When I look in the glass, I do not see a doormat, though people tell me I am one. Am I the one with the thick, bristly doormat bristles, all made of rubber, shaped and stamped with welcome or go away? He treats you like dirt, people say. Treating a doormat like dirt, just the thing one might have thought. No, they are quite right, and the people. And next time he spreads me like dirt, I shall maybe get up and walk away. It's called Street Boy. This happened a few days ago. Hunched up, dejected and cold, he sits by the door, his dirty face punched up, and not too long ago. You could not help but hand him the $1 or $2. Fuck you very much, he states, a bright spark in the morning gloom. This is a kind of a longish thing here. It's called Happy, Happy Day in San Francisco. Happily, I left my apartment this morning, adjusting my scarf and hairdo, and hoping that I remember to be all-inclusive, both culturally and ethnically, and racially sensitive, and pronoun appropriate throughout the entire day. I step along, remembering how each waking moment we white people must reflect in mortification our legacy of social guilt and shame. Suddenly, I see an old Asian woman attempting to step onto a bus. So I lay down on the curb so that she may stand on the side of my head for easy access. No matter that my hairdo and white face are half destroyed, this day shall not be marred by any single thought of dominant religions or race, white conservative males, or fascist belief systems. I see a homeless old black chap picking at a pus-filled abscess upon his leg. I lift his leg before my lips and give his abscesses a thorough good sucking, just to prove to him and to all I am not a secret racist, and I don't even spit. I walk on, and I no longer need coffee. Just then I see a Latin transsexual about to step in front of a fast-moving truck. So I hurl myself at him, her, it, to save him, her, its life. Alas, I am hit instead, and die from internal injuries. But no matter, my white conscience, though dead, remains clean and completely clear. That's it, I think.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sarah Menifee is next. And then we'll have Anna Burke, and then we'll have our second feature.
Yeah, lower it quite
the best. I love this venue, love this place. Thank you, Greg and Clara, for making this. I've got a commercial message first. I have some ratty little flyers for next Saturday at the Black and Brown Social Club, which is on Valencia, near 16th, from 6 to 8. We have an open mic. It's completely open. Some of you have been there, very relaxed. So please come, and if you want a flyer. Okay, I'm going to start out. I love plum wine. So, and I love plums too, so they were mentioned. So here's a couple of lines. Soft rocks of my desiring, those plums and their stones. So, I didn't used to read things off my phone, but thank goodness, because my printer's broke. Okay, scram. I complain, but I love the rain, and I'm getting used to this endless cold. I told death, just forget I'm here. I love all of it. Now get back to your dice game, or was that God? We gave you Sam the Sham, his pharaohs, and their live saxophones. Now, just scram. Okay, begin. This is for my friend Forbes, who just read. Dear Forbes, aren't we both a bit gaga at heart when things go stale, even passionate truths? Can't we go back to our squat in the mud to play again where it all began? This is for a young woman who was living in a tent out in the hills around Petaluma. She's been gang stalked too, but so's another friend of mine, you know. But she's a poet and a passionate animal rights advocate. She doesn't just think of herself. And a little baby possum showed up at her campsite. I think then the mother did. But anyway, I wrote this for her. I have a right to be out here with my new baby possum friend till compassion time has come. Said a lovely free spirit I've come to know. No fascist will interfere with my heart's liberty, her being declares. And she helps bring it in out there with the treasures of the rain and her innocent friends, Monica, Therese, and pristine Vision Land. So I'll close with this. Seems like the people with the least have the biggest hearts, but I guess that's kind of trite to say. For 40 years. Legs sticking out on the platform, nowhere to sleep, nowhere to be. Legs sticking out for 40 years. Oh, well, let me see. Is that black? Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, we have Anna Burke is next, and then we'll have our.
So it's all right. I kind of feel like reading someone else's poem. So this is by Pier Paolo Pasolini, and it's called Condemned to Irrelevance. It's translated from Italian by Peter Valente. Ah, how I would like every word of mine to maintain a double meaning, and all the elements of my verses to be optional. Instead, this is not the case. I spoke seriously with the clean and neatly dressed apostle of the SDS. in a dining hall at Queens College. This spoiled kid didn't hear a word. A deep civic pain depresses me when I see, in a corridor at 100 Fifth Avenue, an official of the SNNC completely abandoned and ignored. On the left, I see a line of divided chairs, etc. And on the right, a wall with a map of the continent of Africa. The scene could not have been more self-righteous. It is an empty gesture. They have all the traits of nice fellows, but in me, the engaged poet suffers, programming a certain quantity of double-edged meanings and optional elements in an arrangement that has become as arbitrary as the existing power structure. Nothing is possible anymore. The spirit of the antibody has exhaled all of you, and the antiseptic power of those whose authority has won. And then I was thinking of reading two parts, just two parts, the last two from Frank O'Hara's poem, Mayakovsky. Okay. So. That's funny. There's blood on my chest. Oh yes, I've been carrying bricks. What a funny place to rupture. And now it is raining on the ailanthus as I step onto the window ledge. The tracks below me are smoky and glistening, the passion for running. I leap into the leaves, green like the sea. Now I am quietly waiting for the catastrophe of my personality to seem beautiful again, and interesting and modern. The country is gray and brown and white in trees, snows and skies of laughter, always diminishing, less funny, not just darker, not just gray. It may be the coldest day of the year. What does he think of that? Or what do I? And if I do, perhaps I am myself again.
Oh, no, you're great. Thank you. Is anyone else hasn't signed in for the open mic? Would like to sign in? All right. We've come to our second of our two features, and boy, I've got a very, very short bio here, and I really would like this gentleman to enhance on that a little bit, just a little bit more. But I'm going to read what's here. Scott Bird was born in the western Colorado town of Paradox. He's a poet, painter, and musician, and co-founder of the Coit Tower Poets. Scott lives in San Francisco, where he makes his living as a gardener. And Scott is, he is amazing. He does so many things. He's so gifted, so talented. And I'd like him to say just a little bit more about himself, just to, I know he doesn't want to, but just a little bit more, just to kind of flesh it out a little bit more. Come on up here, Scott.
I always hate writing bios for myself, and so whenever I get invited to a reading, I just say anything you want to about me. And last time somebody said he crawled out from underneath a stone 40 years ago, swam naked across the English Channel, and rode on the tail of a comet, into Earth's orbit. So you can say whatever you want to. My name is Scott Bird. Thank you, Greg, for inviting me, and Claire Sue, and everybody for coming out today. Yes, I have been accused of being a poet, but I'm not so sure. This poem is dedicated to my youngest sibling, who began in this world as Angel and is now going by the name Milo, just beginning their transition. So this poem is called Angel de Milo. I'm fixated on this elixir saying to me from Rilke that the angels are both beautiful and terrifying, and remembering my own womanhood that lifts its veil to the worlds beyond this one, seeing them do battle with 17 eyes, sexless. They have no recognizable form to us, yet we know they go to war on our behalf, even in the dead of midnight day. And how you now embody the love and the life of the third son, born 1 second after grief, and earned these wings folded round your shoulders, iridescence. You have fought forth with your own war-torn spirit, and for those maimed as casualties in the Guerra Espiritu, you were named at birth for truth's smile. Your weapons were soft-spoken voice and rain. This life may tear your arms off, and that's the price that we pay for wearing the entire spectrum on our face. But as you glance down into still pools of water, see you swimming in those eyes that see through me lines on the brown brow, and know that love comes stern and smoke hoarse sometimes. Go down beneath your sea and still find love sunk there. Dig, dredge, follow it to the end of your flesh. This is a poem by A.E. Housman, and so this is what I'd like to be as my bio now that I just remembered. This is a set by Rafe Vaughan Williams. From far from eve and morning and yon 12-winded sky, the stuff of life to knit me blew hither, here am I. Now for a breath I tarry, nor yet disperse apart. Take my hand quick and tell me, what have you in your heart? Speak now, and I will answer. How shall I help you say? Heir to the wind's 12 quarters, I take my endless way. My apartment is filled with the call of more pressing chores. They're rapping on the door. There's always dishes, laundry, and the unmade bed. But I heed the advice of older men and wish that the novel would just go thrashed into the drawer, into night's thin film where it belongs. The noise of my kind of machination is no longer needed or wanted. Sometimes I worry about the health of my future self. My friends say I should be kinder to myself, and that I hope that he looks back on me without a sort of disdain, but only fondness. I know I certainly envy him living in this space that hasn't taken form yet. It gets the work right. It caused me to slow down and choose words more safely, choose them for the shape that they take, like laminar flow before their own chaos. Choose them for their brushstroke, for their percussive gestures, not fearful of the end of the line. This is not a political essay or a comment on the freedom of the word here, but actually a deep look into the ragged mirror to find out why all this banging on the keys, why all this dedicated vitriol for the unborn neighbor, why all this deliberate pestilence combing through the rat hair under the door jamb. I'm in deep shit for letters that I had better sense than to send. I have celebrated my last golden jubilee before coming the wheel itself. For years I thought I'd make a great dictator, and sometimes I still do think that. Though you cannot lead people out of a paper bag without a proper mustache. Have you ever met a madman sans gray hair? The poem may share 3/4 of the word with podium, but it is not that thing from which to deliver sermons, rallies, speeches of any kinds, perhaps with the exception of eulogies. It is not a book of medicine, nor a recipe for a disaster. It is not a flavor palette of your mother's favorite pot of nostalgia. It is, however menial, a word which means to make up. So, I made it up. So what? I'm not sitting in my apartment. I'm writing on Jet Cloud Jail. I have no dishes, laundry, or a bed to lie to you in. I am older than hills. I fought in the death of valleys for half of an America that could not even see me. I am not a writer of novels, but outer space encore westerns, bleeding through the floorboards. I'm a noisy black Waterloo whose latest breath is already in the annals of unwanted history. It was stolen the moment I could no longer spell the word sleep. I have no envy. I am it. Like the bag lady is named for what she is, not what she carries on her left shoulder. My wheels are off, mama. The guards are off to launch me onto some Andromedaean island. Meet me in Cafe Heaven tomorrow. Bring me only your cup and your latest words. I'll send a telegram in the morning, as if this weren't the lousiest thing you'll read in a billion tears. All my love to you and the state of Kiss-a-Hippie. Love your son, who has descended into pure madness. A while back ago, Jessica Lowe's held an event at Specs called Full Moon Madness. And she said, "Do you have any poems that are about madness?" And I was like, "Aren't they all?" In a way. This is called 10 Coins. Market Street, Temple of the Oddfellows, the plaza unites two nations. Soups in suits. The long corridor of sycamores to the gold-capped Capitol. 75,000 square feet of retail space available for sale per se. In the husk of drywall crumbles in blue painter tape trimmed sills. Hung the sign of 75 tormented angels gathered round the fountain of pigeon shit green, ladling their voice in cupped crab claw hands, gripped in fentanyl veins, in the throes of this dead-faced, deadpan polis, stepping over her own rags, crying out for the end of Section 8 and the beginning of the council house. 2. So many numeric angels have disappeared from under the railways here, where I used to roll cigarettes for them in place of $1 bills. Their heads are filled with rapture. They are swapping stories that swim out of dystopia and into the realm of pure wingedness. Their paranoias are pure, their eyes are pure, so clear of vision, and one by one, these eyes, and the fire inside of them, snuffed out like the foggy end of a matchstick. 3. The queers are crawling home to the real estate market of the I-Sing baby, to that asylum city which has closed its doors on your tent cities, sprayed paint on demented sidewalks so that you say 6 feet apart from everyone, including yourself, including me and your place of refuge, not even being a hand to reach. 4. This is the circuit of the virtually real. Real in all its virtue, but not really real. The branch goes forth and I come to a fork in the road, as someone did before. I see Homo sapien departing here, and there parts Homo synthesis, a fusion of computer madness and human longing to be free from nature and freely of nature in their sterile domiciles. The gardener rings the doorbell thrice to enter. But I am no Amazon man. He has the delivery code. He has the passcode to the threshold of their eyes. iMac Blue, pristine homes with piped music in every room, water music, green music, and brown noise to help the summer night rest from continual reconstruction. They were once my kind. When I enter into the room, I stink like raw earth and sweat. There's an offensive musk I radiate that sets Siri off on their phone saying, "The garbage is full." At 6:30. I worry for their well-being. The world is a dangerous place to venture into for groceries, after all. They are slathered like Rothko paintings in cream for every defense. UV rays pierce my skin daily. I am matzah left in the desert sun. When the wind blows through me, I sing. They singe in daylight, crept out of cubbyhole workrooms. Their kids, if they haven't been abandoned to the nihilist dream, will never know the taste of soil. And when they lie still, trillions of organisms lie in a state of chemical comatose, while I simply wriggle with light airs and dances, symphonic microbiome. There is an entire cosmos beneath my fingernails, and my pits are as fragrant as a metropolis of rosemary and lavender, wrapping for a rag of root. I meet you here at the crossroads of human kindness. 5. Genuflecting to the disengendered, l'oiseau de faux rising from their ashes, shedding all pronouns, bowing to the generational, gender, national traumas, and waiting hip high in the treble-tongued looking glass sea. 6. I overestimated the end of the world by 2 seconds. I found 2 dead crows in a Buddhist fountain. I buried them in the backyard trying to warn off disaster. I predicted the final leveling of all of this. You say to me there are forms of love. You embody the sense that we seem to carry. You call me on a mid-afternoon just when the sad river is high. You come in a place of refuge from loneliness. We are the ultimate finality. We strike the keys too strident, too fervent at times. We are hungering for some later alternative reality. We have sung the abstract expressionist climb. 7. Just sit with it a moment. The wonderment of ecstatic age, burning the candle at both ends. Dance, dance, dance till you die, die, die. It's only the hermaphroditic end. We are all going back to the natural. 8. There are evils that still yet wait in the recesses of your mind. There's a crack in everything. 9. Holding Cab Calloway's dictionary of jazz, walking the English language back east, back to its black roots. Songs of old canal high, lonesome when the cotton is high and the dream is nigh on the county line. How many river maiden dreams have dragged you in to the gold sequin belly dance? How many conquest drowned horses? Did they take the Red River silver, the jade sunk in the bottom of the Lady of the Lake, and how Saint Dominic is now sparking Promethean? 10. I knew the smarts of love and war, and the double-threaded coin which faces your flip. Heads war, tails love. It's your turn to toss. Into the fountain, you get a line, I'll get a tall jug of water. The banks are free to sit in summer sun. Back when we hold fire in our hands, back when we run out of land, we remember our gills open up the belly of the ocean like a Sunday windowsill. How high is the water, mama? I have no room in my pockets, and I have no use for coins.
You've got a few more minutes.
All right. He is bereft of midtones. He is full of midtowns. Eros emphatanos, eros psyche thatanos. He holds Aleph in his loins. Don't look back, trust he's there. He's swimming through hell and skeletal waters on this island city of Esif. You are not a rabbi, you are the lover's lament. Don't look over your shoulder. Trust in the crumpled, tarnished edge of the book. Let's say that someone snagged the cherry blossom in Japantown. Let's say the poet on the bus makes a fuss about the jackass berating out racist obscenities in the back seat. See how her eyes awake. Lift up that nihilist latch, oh lift. And I sit with my back against the wall as foretold. I am not here to point the way out of it, but into, because the bite really is so toothless. Be with the lover's love that you smart to lose. Play the space, ghost as geist, as guest. All these apparitions invade your sleep. The weapon is words, the war is words, but only bombs spit fire and lead. His eyes smoldered with somber fire. That moment on the hill, overlooking fair city grid, at the brim of his lips was a story. Reception broke his heart, geode, foiled in my thoughts. We find ourselves in the keeper of the new earth, and your heart knows its way back. Thank you very much.
Another hand for
Thank
Scott
you.
Bird. All right. Wow. All right. I'm not sure who's up next. I believe is it Dan? Is it Dan? Dan, oh, is up next. And followed by Oakland Sam and Daniel Brown.
Great readings today. Thank you, Greg. So there's a lot of San Francisco bashing lately, I don't know if you noticed, but they're in the national news. So I thought I'd read this one poem. It's an old poem though. Maybe 2018, maybe a little bit longer ago. Starts, it's called San Francisco High. Starts with an epigraph from a beer can label. Steel Reserve, high gravity, 8.1 ABV, 24 ounces, $1.89. My favorite panhandler is passed out on the library steps, open hand in a puddle of Campbell's soup puke, in which he has scratched a haiku. Anything helps, please. Welcome to San Francisco, pigeons in Congress. It's a Steel Reserve kind of day, and I'm in San Francisco this day. The new place I tried for breakfast is called Essence of Omelette. And the waiter messes up my order 3 times in that California careless stone style. Then delivers a barely visible quiche I need to pay $29 for. While a man wearing only a straw hat and a torn wool blanket, carrying a filthy life-size stuffed dolphin, walks in like a VIP, uses the restroom forever until he comes out brandishing a butter knife, shouting poetry. I wipe my ass with a bus pass. I wipe my ass with a bus pass. I leave before SFPD arrives and shoots him dead, execution style. It's a Steel Reserve kind of day, and I'm in San Francisco this day. Petite hooker screams obscenities at a phantom so real at the corner of Grove and Polk. I can almost see her pimp's skinny, trapped arms beating her, and come to believe he is running for mayor. Underneath it all, in the crud-coated BART station at Civic Center's United Nations Plaza, no agent in the booth, fake security cameras, terrible human sights, and clean-cut teenagers all fair jumping like Olympic athletes deserving honor. No restrooms. Tourists forced to piss in a corner, puzzled. Whole families shooting up on the shit-stained stairs. No one running the show. No one running the show except me and a gangbanger with gold teeth. Now I can't take it anymore either. And schedule time on my Google Calendar to scream, fuck you, to no one in particular from the cracked rooftop of my rent-controlled dump. It's a Steel Reserve kind of day, and I'm in San Francisco this day. There's a place I've heard of across the wind-chopped bay waters called Berkeley Hills, where college professors and old hippies live in homes they actually own. There's a stretch of land over there, someone told me once, where deer still survive in a small herd. They graze in a dewy field far above the interstate. The interstate that leads nowhere but vast fields sullied with cavalry and churches until you reach another ocean. It's a steel reserve kind of day, but I'm in San Francisco to stay. It's a steel reserve kind of day, but I'm in San Francisco to stay. Okay. Is there any green ones left? That's great.
Sure. Okay. Now we've got a little time crunch here. We've got a few people still needing to read. I want everyone to read, and anyone who's coming late who still wants to read, please sign up, and I'd like you to have an opportunity to read. But we might need to just kind of shorten it a little bit. So maybe just one piece, try to keep it down to maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes at most. We've got Oakland Sam coming up, Daniel Brown, Yolanda, John Del Bagno, and Bloodflower, JJ Rush, Monica Diaz, and Mark Park. So we've got a few people, so please just, we got Oakland Sam is up first, and then Daniel, Yolanda, everybody get ready and come and read, and we'll get everybody in. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from the other side of the bay. We got my work. The hat, no. I've got this. Okay. The locked room. I have a room in my house where I have everything. Beautiful light, oil on the wall, 2 cats. One by the fireplace and one on the bed. But most of all, my wife, sitting in the middle of the room at a small table. She looks up at me and smiles. I know what this means. She is about to write a poem. I go to the door of this room and go outside, shutting the door behind me, leaving her to fill the room with her beauty. Her poems go to the computer and to a folder. And finally, she's done, and she opens the door and lets me back into her life and into this room. She reads me her poem. It is so beautiful, but never as beautiful as her. But she has her bad side. As we all know, women and men too have a little voodoo. They might be young, 3 or 4 years old, or 80 years old, but they can twist you around their finger. And this is voodoo. They put something somewhere and you see it and you think something. And it ends up like this. Needles and pin, tickle my chin, jump a rope, cut my throat, my baby crash it, voodoo. My baby crash it, voodoo. She'll make your dog look like a cat. She'll make your cat sound like a rat. My baby crash it, voodoo. We'll jump a rope, eat jelly bean. All the boys think she's a queen. with your burrow, cut my throat, needle and pin, tickle my chin, my baby fat She got a brand new Barbie, she got a brand new Ken. Then I see her kicking them with needles and a pin. She's right there, she's right there, she's right there. Oh, well, baby.
Oakland Sam.
Oh, my pen. My pen.
All right, Daniel Brown is up next, and Yolanda is after Daniel.
There you go.
Yeah. Please come back, Oakland Sam.
Would somebody else want to come up here? Okay. I'll just read one poem today. See, I wrote this all the way back in 2018. I can't believe I existed back then. One night I found myself at a familiar intersection, of which 3 stop signs governed. But instead of the motley crowd of cars, there were none. The pack of pedestrians that accompanied this group absent. At this late hour, such surprise none, and the only none here was me. Nevertheless, I heeded the order of the signs. I stopped. I felt the air collect in my lungs, the dew settling therein. No one expected me, no responsibility called. The home I traveled to cared not if I arrived at the end of 1 hour or the start of a new. There I stood, heeding the order of the stop signs 3. But their order was not the only one they gave to the masses at day. They said to me, stop, but not as much as the imperative designed to keep cars and crossers safe, but in a tone that they could speak only when one could listen carefully, carefree. And not only did my motion relative to the sign stop, but so did my worry and my mind. For that moment I had as much feeling as the steel of the post or the bolts in the sign. And I knew what nothing meant, not only as a concept, but a feeling. Then, like the talk after the tick, I continued to the place where it mattered not if I came at the end of the old hour or the start of a new. Thank you.
Daniel. Next up, Yolanda. Yolanda still here? All right. Yolanda, and then John Del Bagno and Bloodflower. Okay. Let's try to keep it, within 3 minutes if we can. Appreciate that.
What's his name? Dad, in his 60s, 70s, 80s-year-old dark-skinned Latino man who was begging for food on 26th Street in the Mission. He said in Spanish, "¿Tiene $1? Tengo hambre." "Do you have $1? I'm hungry." His body sitting down, his book, his back to the wall. How many days at top of over 200 days are those living on the streets in San Francisco in 2022 will it take for our government at all levels to do the right thing? To build nationalized housing with kitchens like they are trying to do in Los Angeles? To the pangs, the cries of hunger cannot continue to be ignored. Call it conscience, call it democracy, or call it rising fascism, rising privilege. When the profits of local merchants outcry the cruelty of death due to hunger, living in the streets where some of you prefer to live because of thirst for democracy, their struggle for preservation of their constitutional rights should not be searched when entering shelters, when entering hotels, having trampled on.
next we have John Del Bagno and Bloodflower. And John, please. Step right up. Good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Great readings today. Thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure. I've got one poem for you today. This is sort of about that moment. I was thinking back that moment when I realized my own mortality. As a little kid, it was one of those times, and they said, "Oh, everybody dies." I said, "Oh, everybody dies." That means me. So this is called "Awake to My Mortality." A deep awareness of my own mortality has run me over. It came out of nowhere, leaving me no different than a half-squashed lizard out on a desert highway. My front legs and my vanity still try to go along, as if nothing is wrong, but I've lost my youthful invincibility. It's as useless as my tattered tail, stuck to the splattered streak running down the road. My eyes roll around every which way, looking for an end that I know is coming. With the dark sky cupping the horizon, the deep truth of my aloneness glares at me. Then a coyote's call, far too close. I find myself with no way to run from the realization that I exist, but only as briefly as a dry breeze retreating before the coming rain.
Thank you. Okay, Bloodflower. Bloodflower's up next, and then JJ, Monica, and Mark.
Thank you, poetry enthusiasts. Good to see everybody here. I'm here to reclaim my lazy Latin tongue. Tempus fugit. On any given day, I'm a soft machine. On any given day, I'm a golden sardine. On any given day, I can push it all away, and I've never felt more at home. If I can make a tree, then I can bend a tree, and if I can bend a tree, then I can make me. And if I can make me, then I can bend time, and if I can bend time, then I can undo time. And if I can undo time, see, then I can undo me. The women of Mission Creek, they gave me a extra eye that never closes and always weeps. It's a cellophane red sun in a mother of pearl sky. It allows me to create planets in the shapes of eggs. I hold one in my hand, and like a spoiled child, I just let it drop. I watch it fester and dissolve in a highball glass full of bleach. And if I can bend a tree, then I can make a tree, and if I can make a tree, then I can make time, and if I can make time, then I have it made. And then if I can bend time, I can bend me, I can undo time, and I can undo me as well. Fallen angel, morning star, please pass me by. I'd prefer to remain here, wrapped in the strands of silver luna. You see, I'm one of them quiet people that's looking for the silence within the silence. That is looking for the darkness within the darkness. Another day in paradise, fucked without a kiss. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Hey, you know, the first reading you gave, I still have my pen and it still works.
All right.
Isn't that amazing? What was that?
Okay.
Months and months.
JJ's next. Monica,
Thank you.
Mark, and I see we have Revolta in the house.
Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is JJ Rush. And not long ago, a lady friend, she called me. She said I was the Rainbow Man. You know why she said that? Because she read this book. And the book is about what happens when you reach the fourth dimension. In the fourth dimension, you're dealing with suspended animation. Ruby. She was naked as a jaybird on stage, wearing a headdress of feathers down to the navel. She strutted her stuff in black boots, shouting men minds filled with, oh, what a night ideas. Saw Ruby when she stopped and squeezed the monkey, and those mighty men went berserk on the spot, shouting, screaming, and stuffing her boots with dollar bills. And if by chance any guy stole a kiss or whiff, boyfriend didn't sweat it. Because when they reached home, all alone, and she shared with him her little cottage in Burgundy, well, sir, Tut might have been king, but Ruby fixed it for him. Night and day, it came to him, little things she had often did, said he was master of her estate and would be till the end of time. However, skipping time was another guy. He took the knick-knack bottle and cried. Even the score, he wanted to look them up for doing him such a nasty deed. Like it or not, that sweet pea lost, you feel it, to the grave. Many a night, she did the dance with him, hitting him once with the shish kebab and twice with the shish kebab. In the seat, grinning ear to ear, sat the luckiest man in the world. Making a rebound, he looked in the mirror for proof. In his nose was a sterling ring, and pulling the string was a boot-wearing woman. The best kind, seldom returned, and that one might have left a clue. She required patient handling like a slow-cooking barbecue. In his comeback, he's cut way down on the sauce. On the drawing board, he's preparing for a space shot. After walking to the moon, he'll jump to Venus's tallest peak. Becoming the man every woman seeks, old-fashioned kind, always on his knees, just a baby. Yes, sir, Tut might have been king, but Ruby fixed it for him. Thank you.
Monica's next. Get your pen.
I'm just trying to get back into this stuff and pretty indecisive, so maybe you guys can help me choose just based on a word. Ants or self? Ants. Okay, so if you hate it, that's on you. All right, let's see. Inori, fast word for ants. I don't know if I slaughtered that. Anyway, we aren't related, yet you visit my home more than my mother. I take it personally, an affront to my civilized manners. You didn't ask if you could come inside, and I never invited you in. The open bowl of sugar was not your open door. But here you are. I know you intimately and not enough. I stare at you and ask aloud, why are you here? But you have always been here, for hundreds of years. Where I am standing belonged to you, long before primates stumbled out of a damp stupor. You have surely answered me over and over again, but I'm the dumb one, the babe, who knows only a single tongue, who can't connect her mind to her being with others. Somewhere there is a future where size doesn't matter, and your exoskeleton is made of diamond shards, and we move out of your path and never walk on the grass. Your hills tower above our skyscrapers, and we don't question it at all. Is there war there? Is there petty crime in the drowning of sorrows, the self-medicating fawns faltering on brittle stalks? Your antenna twitch, and I'm sure it's an important lesson, but I'm a brute and I understand so little. Only that there's little I say to claim it, but for the walls I feed in, live and laugh and die in, and they are mine, all mine. And I won't share it with you, and I hunt for you in the cracks, and gather you up and your friends, and lay you in the line and cut off your heads. Do you feel the sensation of a dying breath rising and falling in your thorax? Will the other's antenna spin in confusion when you, their left hand, lay dormant? Will others take your place? The mad queen, meters bigger than you, disappears as you exhale into the clouded sky.
Okay, we have Mark, and then we have Revolt. And at this time, I'd like to share something. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you all for sharing and being sensitive to the time, and et cetera. Thank you, sir.
And can you help me pronounce his name if I may be so Tomu Williams?
On Tomu Williams.
On Tomu Williams. This is what on Tomu Williams. Thank you for having me. His mystery. How can you be a lion and a lamb on a go? How can you be roaring in the land and innocently bellow in the field ago? How can you bring peace and enmity ago? That brother and sister will disagree. How can you judge and acquit ago? How can you own the keys to both the doors that go? The keys to life and the keys to Hades. How can you bring joy and sadness ago? That the young rich man had to leave sad, for he could not part with his vast estate. How can you fill and empty ago when there was nothing? You declare fullness, and where it filled to the brim, emptiness. How can you purchase and give for free? What kind of love is sealed by blood? I will declare to humanity about this mystery. I will not keep quiet about this testimony. I will not stain my hands with blood, vanity. I will speak Jesus, and they will hear clearly, for death is closer than judgment today, more than ever before in human history.
Revolt. Come up here and do a share put this here.
It's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Sorry to kind of keep it a short set, but
That's totally fine.
some points. And we have you as a feature, so.
Let's see if that, oh gosh, yes. I love it. I love this little thing. Built this crazy thing to make my voice have a little more effects and things, make it sound a little more soothing. Thank you all for having me here. It's my first time here. me almost an hour and a half to get through traffic to get here. Otherwise, I would have been here a lot sooner. But I want to give a warm welcome, or a warm thank you to Mr. Greg Pond, our incredible host, and Clara Sue, of course, one and only. And the reason I'm here today, partly is because both of them actually donated to the fundraiser for me to get this wheelchair. I thought the very least I could do is do a song. So this is a song that's been close to my heart lately. It's an oldie, but a goodie. They used to tell me I was built in a dream, so I followed them on. When there was earth to plow, or guns to bear, I was right there on the job. They used to tell me I was building a dream with peace and glory ahead. Why should I be standing in line just waiting for bread? Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? In khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee Doodle-Dum. 500,000 boots and slogging through hell, and I was a kid with a drum. Hey, don't you remember? You called me out. It was out all the time. Why don't you remember? I'm your pal, your brother. Can you spare a dime? Hey, don't you remember? They called me out. It was out all the time. Why don't you remember? I'm your pal. Hey, brother, can you spare a dime?
Well, we have a choice of pens.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what the
You know what? One for you, one for the wheelchair.
Oh. No, I gotta call that.
All right. And thank you for coming all the way out here and making this trek to come here and share with us. Thank you all. coming out. I've got a poem I'd like to share with you before we leave. This is Pride Month. It's Juneteenth as well. But we have still a lot of challenges going on. And this poem I wrote regarding the situation in Uganda and the human rights situation, where basically they have passed laws now which criminalize being gay, basically. It's okay to be gay, but it's not okay to show any affection, any intimacy, and it can also result in arrest and death. There's a death sentence for being gay. And so I wrote this poem and I titled it Abaziyazi, and that's a Ugandan word for gay. I think it's a derogatory term at this point, but at one point it was just part of the society. And well, you hear in the poem, the missionaries, the colonialists came and basically said, this is how you should treat people. So, Abasiasi. Uganda, you gotta be kidding me. You mean only 2 of 300 plus in your parliament had the guts to vote against enforcing new laws against tolerance? It's so hard to believe you've allowed your beautiful nation to sink so low. You've now doubled down to sanction criminalization that began when the British colonial crown installed a system of Christian indignation, later sanctioned by the kind of missionaries who'd thump the Bible but thumb their nose at questions of acceptance or resignation. They became the visionaries for the next disciples of imperial indoctrination, who used the spread of AIDS to quote Leviticus and place the onus and blame on anyone accused of being that way. Using a campaign built on coercion, persuasion, and guilt by association, these sleazy Jesus ministers imagined themselves soul savers for the primitive and lost, teaching them to kneel at a makeshift altar and pray like slaves to some unforgiving God, while spreading a doctrine of condemnation that makes lesbian, trans, and gay suffer from the sins of discrimination. This poison has worked its way seep into community arteries and deep into government veins, where officials now proclaim homosexuality a threat so great, they've decided the best solution is the final one that will jail, and in some cases exterminate, anyone caught in the act of loving anyone whose gender is the same. Uganda, I wonder, could it possibly be that you still cling to some bigoted dream that embraces separate and unequal but dismisses inclusion and diversity? Or could it be that you're being used to promote a biblical nightmare that's based on intimidation and fear and is under a vengeful deity's rule? Or maybe you've been led to believe you can truly erase every trace of gay that gets in your way like it was some viral disease. Really, Uganda, you gotta be kidding. Thank you all so much. Next month, please come back. Andre Wilson will be one of the features, in addition to E.K. Keith. And happy Pride, happy Juneteenth, happy summer. Father's Day, thank you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the audience and all the fathers in our hearts. Thank you all. Have a wonderful month. See you next month. Thank you. Thank you, Clara and the Clarion staff as well.